Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to share this video with you. The topic seems a little dismal, but I'm also really excited because this is something that so many moms struggle with. I cannot believe I haven't made a video about this before, and I just want to say thank you to the specific individual, this gal over on Instagram who follows me on Instagram. She sent me a voice message, several, asking me about dealing with resentment as a mom. I am not going to say her name because I want to respect her privacy, but thank you so much. You know who you are. Thank you so much for reaching out and asking me a question. That's what this community is for. If you are watching this video and you have a question about something, DM me on Instagram or leave me a comment below and I'd be happy to make a video on the topic. That is what this channel is all about. So if you didn't see last week's video, it was 4 mindset shifts to help you own your worth as a stay-at-home mom. It seemed to really strike a chord with a lot of people because I got a few comments about it on my Instagram, and I had mentioned in that video the fact that I had struggled with bitterness and resentment in being a stay-at-home mom. It was a part of my postpartum depression. It was a part of just my struggle to own my worth. And then that's how that question came up, like, well, how do you deal with resentment as a stay-at-home mom? And I'm so glad that this person asked this question because this problem of resentment is something that I think can really hold you back from enjoying motherhood, can really hold you back from just experiencing joy, and feeling resentment as a stay-at-home mom or as a mom in general causes a lot of mom guilt as well. So then you're feeling resentment, and then you're feeling guilt, and then you're feeling shame for feeling resentment about being a mom, and it's this whole crazy storm of negative emotions, and I just hope that this video can help you work through that. So a little bit of background about me. I struggle with postpartum depression and anxiety with both of my kids. I have 2 kiddos, ages 3 and 1, and it took about 2 solid years of hard work, therapy, reading, all the work to try to get through resentment. And on the other side of resentment was really healing from my depression. And so I know that this is really important and not everyone has a chance to work with a therapist. So I'm just going to be sharing with you everything that I learned, all the strategies, the information, the tips that I learned in the 2 years of working through my resentment to get you hopefully to the other side. So the reason why my resentment kind of blossomed is because since I was 9 years old, I knew I wanted to go to college. I am from Guam, a tiny little island in the Pacific, and I worked my butt off to go to college and to pay my way through college, and my dream was to be a CEO of a company and to be super successful. And I fell in love in college, and then I got pregnant right away, and I had my first child my first year out of college. I had just started my career in a very well-known advertising agency, and I was doing so well, but I was not yet ready to be promoted. So when I had my son, I just could not afford childcare, and I had to quit my job. And that's a struggle that a lot of people face. We can make a whole nother video about that, but women having to leave their jobs because of kind of the childcare crisis in this country. I didn't have family or friends to watch my child. That wasn't an option for me, so I had to quit, and that caused a lot of resentment and bitterness. I loved being married, I loved my baby, but I was so angry and frustrated that I had worked so hard to get into the place where I was starting my career, and then I had to quit because I couldn't afford it. Now, hindsight is 2020. I know why that all happened. I'm grateful that it did. I know that sounds crazy, but I am, because I wouldn't be here talking to you in front of this camera if it wasn't for all of those circumstances. So that is where the resentment and the bitterness came from, and I just want you to know that that's kind of where my story began. So we're going to dive into the 7 tips, and I just want to ask you that if you like this video as we're going through it, please make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe and click on the bell icon so that you're notified. I post a video almost every single week to help you in your motherhood journey. Okay, so the first tip for dealing with resentment in motherhood, and these tips are primarily for stay-at-home moms, so it can also work if you're not a primarily stay-at-home mom. And that is, number 1, check your expectations. One of the most amazing things I learned from therapy is that if you are experiencing disappointment, resentment, or bitterness, you probably had an expectation that you need to check. My therapist explained it this way: if you have an expectation, you are setting yourself up for disappointment. And while it feels impossible to let go of all expectations, it is possible for you to acknowledge when you're feeling something like frustration or resentment and go, okay, well, why am I feeling frustrated or resentful? What was my expectation? So I want to ask you, are you frustrated as a stay-at-home mom because you had a different expectation, a different vision for what your life should look like right now? Maybe you're 35 and you're like, I thought I would be rising above in my career right now. I thought I would be a manager at this point in my career. I didn't think I'd be sitting here making dinner and cleaning floors. And that's okay. We all have a vision and an expectation for what our life should look like. I can tell you right now that I have all sorts of visions and expectations of what my life should look like. And all that was causing for me was frustration and this feeling of a deep sense of failure, like I had failed myself, because I was not anywhere near what my original vision was. So one thing that helped me so much and that I think will help you is to lower your expectations, change them, and overall, most especially, be flexible with them. And I know in today's hustle culture, it is very not popular to say lower your expectations, but as a perfectionist, as someone who's an achiever, if you take the Enneagram test, I'm a 3-1 or a 3-2. I'm either an achiever giver or an achiever perfectionist, but you get the picture. If you're somebody that struggles with overachievement and burning yourself out, it's okay to lower your expectations. I'm pretty sure that lowering your expectations, they're actually not going to be that low in comparison to a lot of people's. And it's honestly overall just better for your mental health. Helicopter. It's just better for your mental health and for everybody involved for you to lower your expectations and not constantly feel like a failure against this benchmark that you constantly set for yourself. So that's number one, check your expectations. So number two is to check your intentions. So this is really important to analyze like why you're a stay-at-home mom. Are you a stay-at-home mom because you have to be because of childcare issues and financial reasons? Are you a stay-at-home mom because you thought you should be because that's what the culture tells you that you should do after you have a baby? Or are you a stay-at-home mom because you actually want to be and it just didn't turn out how you planned? This is really important, especially because if you feel like you're a stay-at-home mom because you should be, I want you to know that doing things out of fear of judgment or out of obligation or a sense of guilt, like this feeling like, well, if I went back to work, I would just feel so bad. That can lead us to a dangerous place because doing anything purely out of obligation or guilt or fear leads to resentment because then you kind of feel like you're imprisoned, like you're in this life because you have to be, not because you want to be. So it's super important to check your intentions so that you can get to the root cause of where this resentment is coming from. Okay, so the third tip is make a list and really actually do this. Grab a piece of paper and make a list of what frustrates you the most about being a stay-at-home mom. I am reading from my notes at this point. There's just so much content, guys, and I don't want to miss it. And then make a corresponding list of what you can do about each thing. And I want to note, to highlight for you, that you won't be able to do something about every single thing. I'm just trying to help you to start with brainstorming without judgment, write down that list of what's frustrating you, write down that corresponding list of what you can do about it, and know that there are going to be some things on that list that you can't do anything about. And I just want you to go into this exercise knowing that you don't have to solve everything, you don't have to fix everything, and you can't. And you have to slowly come to terms with that and learn to be okay with that. So I want to tell you a quick personal story. I was so angry that I wasn't able to be using my degree. Some people are like, I don't care. I went and got a PhD and then I decided to stay at home and be a stay-at-home mom. That's good for you if that's your choice, but that wasn't really my plan. I wanted to be out working. I wanted to be using my degree, and I was frustrated that I wasn't developing my skills further and using my creative gifts. And then I had to slowly come to terms with the fact that that's where a lot of my resentment was coming from. And then I realized, well, if I can be okay with not doing this at a traditional job setting where I get validation from my peers and my colleagues and my boss, which is nice, if I can be okay with not getting a bunch of validation and just doing this for its own sake, then I can figure out how to do this as a stay-at-home mom. And so for me, a lot of my resentment started to dissipate when I started to carve out the time and energy to work on developing my skills and using my creative gifts, like spending Saturday morning right now sitting in front of this camera talking to you. I love doing this, and my husband right now is at the playground with our kids, having a great old time with them. And so that's just an example of something that you can do something about. Like that was something that was frustrating me, and I had control over what I could do about it. So what is it on your list that you're super frustrated about that you could actually change it? I challenge you to be honest with yourself, take an honest look at that list and change at least one thing, and you'll start to feel that resentment like lift off your shoulders. I also want to highlight here that you cannot wait around for someone else to come and save you. You can't wait for your partner or your husband to come home and say, hey babe, you've been working so hard and I just want you to do what makes you happy. So how can I make this happen for you? And don't get me wrong, my husband has said that for me, but what have I said every time he's brought that up? Oh, I'm fine. Everything's fine. I'll figure it out. And then I never did. I never took the time and energy to figure it out. So I just want you to know that you can't wait around for someone to carve out this time for you. You really have to do it yourself. At the end of the day, you do have to take care of yourself. And while you can ask people for help to facilitate that, you are the one who has to take the power and make the decision of what you're going to do to feed your soul again, to nurture yourself, to help relieve yourself of all of this guilt and resentment. Okay, this next tip is super important because a lot of people would look at me and go, well, Mia, how do you take time on Saturday morning to film these videos? Don't you feel guilty? Don't you feel bad that you're not out at the playground with your husband? No, I don't feel bad because I'm a full-time stay-at-home mom and I'm with my kids every single day. I'm out at that playground every single day. I do not feel bad taking this time, but I'll be honest with you. It took years to get to this place. I literally would feel so bad because I'd be like, well, my husband's home. We need to have family time. We need to be all together. But guess what? If I take 3 or 4 hours on a Saturday morning to do what feeds my soul, everyone's going to live and we can still have family time. There are 24 hours in a day. So if I dedicate Saturday morning to myself, then Saturday afternoons when the kids wake up from nap, we all go out together as a family. So know that you're making this bigger in your head, and I say this with all the love in my heart because I did this too for the longest time. Like, I can't do anything for myself because we have to spend time as a family and we have to do all this stuff. No, you don't. You matter too. I have a philosophy and I'm about to break it down for you. I don't know if I actually specified this, but tip number 4 is redefine your motherhood. What does being a good mom mean to you? And the reason why I segued with that story is because I had to redefine, in order to not feel guilty that I'm not out there at the playground with my husband and my kids, in order to not feel guilty that my kids watch a little bit more TV than other people, I guess, because I have to carve out time every day to do what I love. In order to not feel bad about that, I had to redefine motherhood. So this is more than, oh, are you scheduling yourself into your calendar? Oh my gosh, it drives me nuts when people are like, oh, you just need to put it in your calendar. There are so many other steps before you put it in your calendar. Trust me on this, okay? 2 years of therapy, trust me on this, because there are all these limiting beliefs that are making you feel guilty and ashamed of even putting it in your calendar. So let's take a few steps back and realize that you feel guilt and shame about taking time to take longer in the shower or go to the mall or go get a cup of coffee or read a book or sleep in. You feel guilty about doing this stuff because you haven't redefined motherhood for yourself. And what I mean by that is you need to walk yourself through the process of unraveling all the beliefs, all the reasons why you think that sleeping in makes you a bad mom. Not spending 24/7 with your kids makes you a bad mom. Working in front of your kids makes you a bad mom. These are all the things that I had running through my head over and over and over because I was following influencers and YouTubers and all these people and having play dates with moms like this that were making me feel bad. So I had to start eliminating all these influences in my life that were telling me, oh, I don't work in front of my kid. I never do that. Well, good for you. But here's the thing. Once I sat down and realized that I needed to redefine motherhood for myself, I realized I want to model for my kids what hard work looks like, what passion looks like, what carving out time for yourself looks like. I want to model for my kids what taking good care of yourself looks like. My philosophy is happy mom, happy family. And that means that if I don't take good care of myself, I'm not able to take good care of my family. Hard stop. That is the truth. I have been through burnout many times. I have struggled on and off with major depression. And you know what? I have proven to myself that I must take care of myself first. And in a world of perfect moms and perfect this and perfect that on Instagram, this sounds really selfish. Look, I'm a Christian. I believe in serving others, but I also believe in serving others from a full cup. I know from my personal experience that I cannot serve others when I am drained, when I am burnt out. So I protect that time that I give to myself, the time that I take a hot bath to the time that I film this video. It is my time and I protect it and I ask for it. And I know that I'm sitting here preaching to you and this might sound like I'm oversimplifying it, but I want to reiterate here that this part, the redefining motherhood, this is the key to unlocking your ability to release resentment and to feel good, not just not as guilty, but to feel good about taking care of yourself and your needs. And when you take care of yourself and your needs, a lot of that resentment is gonna go away. And so I want to take you a few steps backwards, actually, before we talk about, well, just practice self-care and put it in your calendar. The first step is you defining, what do you value in motherhood, and what kind of mom do you want to be, and what constitutes a good mother for you, and where are you getting all of these shoulds? Well, a good mom should cook dinner from scratch, and a good mom should spend all day with her kids, and a good mom should do all these age-appropriate developmental activities. As my therapist would say, you're shoulding all over yourself, and you need to start releasing these shoulds, because these shoulds are making you feel like a failure. So I'm just gonna plug right here. In my course, the Motherhood Thrive Guide, you might have heard me talk about it. The entire first section, the longest lesson in the course, is called Redefining Your Motherhood, where I walk you through this process. If what I'm saying feels overwhelming and feels not doable, because a lot of us actually don't know what our invisible scripts are. A lot of us don't know how we are subconsciously defining motherhood in a way that's making us feel like garbage. I go through all of the limiting beliefs that are potentially holding you back so that you can start to unravel them. And then I go through a process of helping you define your values as a mom, and then making sure that you identify, okay, well, these are my values as a mom. These are the ways that I can show up so that I am living in alignment with my values. So that is my favorite part of the course, probably, because it's the beginning, it's the foundation, and then we go up from there. So I do want to highlight here, I keep using that word, but I gotta point things out for you, that the mom guilt doesn't entirely go away. And I say that to be realistic with you. You don't walk through this world guilt-free. If I told you that was possible, if anyone tells you that you can be completely guilt-free, that's a lie. You're human, and humans experience guilt, and it can be a healthy emotion that enables you to take a step back and go, well, why do I feel guilty? Is it because I screamed at my kid and I really should apologize to them? Or do I feel guilty because I'm comparing myself to this unattainable standard on Instagram, okay? So that guilt can actually be a very productive emotion if you use it as a cue to step back and ask yourself these questions. And this is why it's so important to define what motherhood means to you in writing. That's why I walk you through this process in my course, because there are so many messages that we are being bombarded with every single day on TV, in ads, on Instagram, on Pinterest, of what it means to be a good mom. And if you don't have this, and I literally encourage you in my course to write down your values and stick it on your fridge, so that when you're feeling like garbage, you can go and look at your fridge and go, you know what? These are my values. And cooking dinner from scratch for my kid every night, even though I just saw that in my Instagram feed, that's not one of my values. One of my values personally is simplicity. And so that means it's perfectly okay and in alignment with my definition of motherhood for me to have several meals a week that are pick up from Costco, quick, throw in the oven, that are pick up from Trader Joe's, quick, throw in the oven. I make things easier for me because one of my values as a mother is simplicity. And if that's not your value, that's perfectly fine. If one of the ways you love to show love to your family and yourself is cooking things from scratch, more power to you. But what I am encouraging you to do is to define your values and to know that guilt does not completely go away. But when you know what your values are in writing, you are able to come back to it and ground yourself in what matters to you. Number 5 is ask for help. And yes, this is a huge tip in terms of getting rid of resentment in your life, because a lot of times we're resentful when we feel like we are bogged down and burdened and doing way too much of the work. Especially when it comes to the stay-at-home moms, it's like we feel like we're doing everything. We feel like, and sometimes we are, I'm just going to say, sometimes we are. You're doing the laundry, you're doing the dishes, you're doing the errands, you're doing the cleaning, you're doing the taking care of the kids and all of this stuff. And my day starts at 6 a.m. and ends at 8:30. And I don't get a paid lunch. I don't get a paid break. And when my kids don't nap, it's a all day affair. And it can be tough. It can be tough. And if you know what I'm talking about, holler at me in the comments, because you are not alone in this. So that can breed resentment. And what the cure for that, which is easier said than done, is to ask for help. And I just got to tell you right now that if you need help, which you probably do if you're watching this video, you need to start by asking your partner. If you have a partner, if you have a spouse, you got to have that difficult conversation and ask them for help. And I know that can be tough, especially if you have a spouse that's not very supportive or who's working extra shifts, then maybe they can't help you. But you have to start there. And if they can't help you, then you need to have the hard conversation of, okay, well, you're working double shifts. Can we find $100 a month in the budget for me to hire a sitter so that I can take a break? Can we find $100 a month in the budget to hire a housekeeper to do the deep cleaning because I'm just so exhausted. I don't have the time or the energy to do all the deep cleaning. And if you don't have the time from your partner to help you and you don't have money in the budget, you cross those two things out. I know there was a time in my life we didn't have that. My husband worked all the time, and then I worked in the evenings, and we didn't have the money. And that's just a fact of life for some of us, and that's okay. I'm not judging. We do what we have to do. So the third option I would say is you need to reach out to a family member or a friend. And this can be really tough because we can feel guilty when we ask for help. And we're fed this lie in our society that we as moms should be able to do it all. And I'm going to tell you right now that if you want to get rid of resentment and burnout, you have to start repeating to yourself this beautiful mantra: I can't do it all and I don't have to. I can't do it all and I don't have to. You don't have to. You can ask for help. I have an aunt, a lovely, generous aunt who drives over an hour once a month to come and watch my kids. She absolutely loves it. She loves spending time with them. She's here for like 5+ hours, and they love hanging out with her. They're so excited to see her. And I hope that you have a family member or a friend who can come once a month or once a week or every other week to help you out. The reason why I go through all these different ways that you need to ask for help, starting with your partner, is because there's actually a lot of help out there for a lot of us. I think we just want to shut it down and say, no, there's no help. There's no one who can help me, because we'd rather live in that space of everything sucks. Let's just be honest. When you're a space in a headspace of resentment and even depression, you just want to believe that everything sucks. And maybe everything does feel like it sucks, but I want you to know that it doesn't have to stay this way. Okay? Everything doesn't have to suck all the time. There is help out there. And again, like I said earlier, it's not as easy as just picking up the phone. I am a huge proponent of taking a few steps back, because like I said, in 2 years of therapy and in overcoming postpartum depression and anxiety, if my therapist just said, well, just ask for help, I wouldn't have, I was like, I know I need to, but I don't know how, or I'm scared, or I feel guilty. There are several steps back that you need to take first. What are the limiting beliefs that you need to unravel in order to make asking for help easier? Because I guarantee you that if you haven't asked for help up to this point, and if you're watching this video, you probably struggle with this. And there's no shame in that. A lot of us do. I struggled for years. And there are a lot of limiting beliefs that you have to overcome to get to the point where asking for help actually feels like an act of self-love, an act of self-compassion, and out of love for your children, so that you could be the best mom you can be. And again, in my course, I have an entire lesson called Ask for Help, and I go through that process with you. All right, the next tip, and you've heard me beat this like a dead horse, is practice gratitude every single day, but especially if you struggle with resentment, this is a must. You have to do it. It takes 5 minutes and it is life-changing. But one of the things I highly recommend when you practice gratitude is to do it in the morning. If you can, do it before you feed anybody. Like, just tell everybody, mommy needs 5 minutes. Mommy needs 5 minutes. Everybody wait, I'll get you cereal in a second. Or you throw people some Cheerios while you do your gratitude, and then you feed everybody breakfast. Or if you were getting kids out the door for school, do all that. And then if you have a moment to sit in your car, take 5 minutes and write down 3 to 5 things you're grateful for. They can be big things, they can be small things, but try to make them different every single day, because you need to remember all that you have. Because when we live in a place of resentment, which happens to all of us, we can tend to seriously focus on everything that's going wrong and everything that feels horrible and awful. And you need to ground yourself in the things that are going right and the things that are going well. One of my mantras, my gratitude things that I write down almost every single day is, I am so grateful to be a stay-at-home mom because I get to see my children grow up and I have the flexibility to do what I love. That is something that saves me from getting into that resentment headspace, because I remember that even though being a stay-at-home mom is exhausting and hard and can be so lonely sometimes, it enables me to put my phone up and make an Instagram video for you guys. It enables me to put up my camera and show you guys a peek into my life. It enables me to use nap time to write that blog post that I've been having on my heart, and that's what being a stay-at-home mom enables me to do. And it also enables me to see the beautiful quirks that I wouldn't be able to see, the quirks of my children, that I wouldn't be able to witness if I wasn't here for 14 hours a day watching them. So yeah, I want you to practice gratitude every single day and just watch it transform your life. And the last but not least tip to help you is to radically accept the things you cannot change that frustrate you. Okay, this is so important. You know, we talked about writing a list of things that frustrate you. We talked about identifying how you can change those things, but a fact of life is there are going to be things in your life that you cannot change. let that sink in for a bit, okay? Especially if you're a control freak like me, you want to control everything, and your anxiety stems from a feeling of powerlessness, the feeling of, I don't have control over this, so now I'm freaking out. This is especially important for you and me. So when we radically accept what we cannot change, resentment and frustration begin to leave us, and then contentment begins to take its place. That is not a direct quote from anybody, but if it is, if you've heard it somewhere, go ahead and give them credit below. But this is something that I've learned, that when we radically accept things we cannot change, resentment begins to leave us and contentment starts to take its place. And I am just telling you this from my experience, that there are things that you cannot change. And when you identify what those things are and you ask, for me, I'm Christian, I ask God to help me to accept, that serenity prayer. Lord, help me to accept the things I cannot change. Give me the courage to change the things that I can. And please give me the wisdom to know the difference. It's such a good prayer. I'm not, if you're not Christian, you don't pray, that's okay. You can still go through the process of self-reflection, of identifying what you can change, and just taking some deep breaths and asking yourself to accept these things. May I accept the things that I cannot change? I also want you to know that this doesn't happen overnight, and it also becomes easier to become content the more you carve out time and energy to do what you love and to take good care of yourself. So the more you practice self-care and the more you're giving yourself what you need, the easier it is to just slowly let the things go that you can't control, because you're being taken care of, In my course, I have an entire lesson about self-care, and this isn't your take a bubble bath, go get your nails done type of lesson. If you haven't noticed from this video, I'm a big fan of taking 3 steps backwards from the tip everyone's giving you to dig into the mindset and the limiting beliefs and the reasons subconsciously that are actually holding you back from asking for help, that are actually holding you back from practicing self-care. I also, and I haven't seen anybody else do this, I break down self-care into 4 different categories. And the reason why I do that is because you can't just go, oh, I'm burnt out, I'm just going to do anything. Like, there's actually a hierarchy of needs when it comes to self-care. And I break those down to make sure that you're nurturing all parts of yourself. And that self-care lesson is actually the last lesson in the course. And the reason for that is because there's a foundation that you need to build. You start with redefining motherhood, asking for help, setting boundaries, and then practicing self-care. So you have to start, like I said, 3-4 steps backwards in order to get to a place where you can practice self-care and not feel guilty about it, and not still feel like, I was gone all day shopping and I'm still exhausted and burnt out. I don't know why. I practice self-care. I don't understand. I did what they're all telling me to do. There's a hierarchy of self-care needs, and I break that down for you in my course. So I want to thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it helped you. If you could, please let me know in the comments below what your favorite tip was, or if anything particularly resonated with you, or if you have any personal stories to share with us, I would love that. And I want you to know that for the month of March, I actually have a special promotion where I am giving away my 30-day gratitude workbook. I call it a joy book, but it's basically a workbook. And it's going to help you if you've never really practiced consistent gratitude. It's just a beautifully designed printable workbook that enables you to start this practice and make it a habit. And you can get that workbook completely for free when you buy my Motherhood Thrive Guide course. And if you like this video, there is a really good chance that you're gonna love my course, because it's basically this video on steroids, for lack of a better term. It's basically this, what I gave you in this video, but even more complex and even more built out, and we go even deeper, and there's a workbook and a private Facebook group, and just everything I learned that helped pull me out of postpartum depression and anxiety is in this course. So I hope you'll join me. If you don't love the course, there's a 14-day money back guarantee. So I will give you your money back. And I want you to know that I donate 10% of every course sale to Postpartum Support International and Horizon Pregnancy Clinic, which is a crisis pregnancy clinic. So if you buy this course to help you in your motherhood journey, you are giving back financially to these other organizations that help other moms in need. So thank you so much for watching this video. You're amazing if you made it to the end, and I can't wait to see you next week. So make sure you subscribe to my channel so that you're notified when I post again. All right, guys, love you. Bye.